waiting, of course. Hey guys, guess what? More technical difficulties, like we always seem to be having.
Hold on,
Including
microphone.
the audio, which will now get set up. Gotta press it all the way in. It's pressed in. No, there we go. So, we were supposed to have this live Q&A at 3 p.m. It's a few minutes after 3, but I also set up an event for it, which YouTube didn't acknowledge. So, now we're creating a new event. Right now, you're watching it. So we have the 2020 Dodge Charger Scat Pack Widebody, and we've got some questions submitted on Instagram and on YouTube's community. That's how you get your questions in early, how I answer them early. So you follow me on Instagram, at MilesPerHr. It's getting kind of windy, hope you can still hear. At MilesPerHr, MilesPerHr. And you can also ask them in the YouTube community when I ask you a prompt before these videos go live. Couple things before we get into the questions. Christina's an eager beaver. Is that if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. I would really appreciate it. And we've got walk around, POV drive, day drive, POV night drive, and of course this live Q&A, all for this vehicle coming out in the next few days. So look forward to all those. If you don't want to hear me talking, if you don't want to ask your questions. But without further ado, Christina, what is our first question?
Well, I just wanted to acknowledge we have a lot of viewers on here who are saying, hey, they're
Hello.
glad you're back on.
Yes.
And Jamie Walters saying, hey.
Hey, Jamie.
And they already watched all your videos. And then Gaming Master says, hey, Miles, missed your streams, man.
Hey, Gaming Master.
All right. So let's get into it. First question is it daily drivable from Hayden Cook?
Hayden asked a good question. Is this monster V8 sedan daily drivable? And I would say affirmatively yes. I really enjoy driving this around town. It spices up your day because you've got that HEMI V8 noise, but the daily drivable part is the sound quality. How is the sound inside the cabin? Is it really loud, like obnoxiously so? Can you talk to your cabin mates? Yes, definitely. It drives very smoothly, the suspension damping. This has the adaptive dampers, really soaks up road blemishes. Visibility is excellent out of this sedan. And because it's lower slung, it's not a big SUV, you don't have all of the aero to deal with, and so you're not getting too much wind noise. The tires are wide, they make a little bit of noise, but not too much. So I definitely think it's daily drivable. The throttle tip-in is very sensitive, so you have 485 horsepower you have to wrangle. So be aware that you have to be light on the throttle, otherwise it will throw you forward if you aren't expecting it. So it's a little on the sensitive side in terms of throttle, but apart from that, it is very daily drivable. I would say it is one of the more daily drivable, high performance sedans that there are.
Awesome.
At this price point.
All right, thanks everyone for joining again. I see new viewers. Thanks so much. We'll get to your questions soon after we answer the ones from Instagram. Next question is cool features, question mark, from HW Ahmed.
Okay, HW Ahmed asks, what are the cool features? Well, I suppose it is a feature. It's the 6.4 liter HEMI V8 engine. That is an awesome feature. And to get that much power, Christina wants me to show. Okay, I'll pop the hood.
We're talking about it. We might as well see it.
Might as well see it. I can actually show two cool features at the same time, I think, if it'll let me with the hood open. But here's that 6.4 liter HEMI V8. This is what you get with the Scat Pack model as opposed to the standard RT model. I know another person is going to ask that question a little later on. Yes, I looked ahead. I know what the questions are. So the difference between this and the RT is using a 5.7 liter HEMI V8. This is using the 6.4 liter V8. So this makes more power, and as features go, it doesn't get much better than an awesome V8 engine. So that is one of the coolest features. The second cool feature, let's go right into it, remote start. Yes, it's nothing terribly new, but getting to remote start your V8 powered sedan whenever you want to is pretty cool. There it is. So I find that to be a really sweet feature. Click it once, goes off.
A little.
Oh, that has to cool down. Yeah, it's sizzling. It's sizzling. It's got to cool off. More cool features. Well, I would say the fact that we already talked about it a little bit, it's really daily drivable. You can just enjoy it as a sedan that happens to be ridiculously powerful. On a daily basis, it's very comfortable. The seats are really supportive. They don't punish you at all. Not a ton of road noise and wind noise. So I would say a daily drivable element of it, that's a cool feature. And the fact that it's very practical. You can fit 5 adults in there, and you have a good sized trunk. I think it's 17 cubic feet of space in the trunk. So those are all great features that I would look for in a family sedan that's a muscle car.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Mm-hmm. Best sounding car for the money, about 45K. A Kia Stinger GT or this?
Oh, 100%
And that's
this.
from Blake.
Blake asked a good question. The Kia Stinger GT would be pretty much a direct rival to this. There aren't a ton of, muscle car sedans, this is kind of the only one. But if you're looking in that same price point, $45,000 around there, Kia Stinger GT would really be cross-shopped with this. But twin turbo V6, very potent, really nice engine. I love what they did with that. But it doesn't have the grunt. It doesn't have the excitement factor of this Scat Pack. So he asked about best sounding car at that price point. It's got to be this. This sounds incredible. In fact,
Start it up.
yeah, we'll start it up. Christina will run to the back, rev it a couple times for you. That's what you want to see here, rather. Let me rev it out to 4,000 RPM, but that's enough. This is just an idle. It's like shaking.
I want to make sure everyone heard it.
Did everyone hear that? Because we were having issues with audio last time. We've had so many issues. Get your tissues, we got some issues. Christina hated that.
Alright, no response.
Fun fact,
Hopefully
there have been like 4 or 5 people when I come to this parking lot who've been learning how to drive in this parking lot. Last time it was a girl with her grandfather. This time, this girl who can barely see over the steering wheel appears to be learning how to drive. This is apparently the Learn to Drive parking lot. So, you've come to the right place.
Alright.
Nothing wrong with learning to drive in a parking lot. I encourage it.
That was a weird rant.
Yeah, I know it was.
Okay, another question from Blake. Fun to drive in everyday traffic, or do you feel the size or the weight of it?
You feel the size and weight. It's a 4,300 pound sedan. You feel the weight, but it's also a good sized vehicle. But I think it's totally fine to drive around in traffic. It's actually more fun than your standard sedan because you just have the sound of that exhaust at all times. And the feeling of power is just, it satiates you. So I think it's wonderful in daily driving traffic. Also losing my voice.
Favorite OEM design or wheel design? Sorry, from Blake.
Oh, that's a great question. Favorite OEM wheel design? I mean, it's popping to the top of my head right now, and so I'll just say it's probably not my absolute favorite, but I love the Genesis G90's wheels right now. Christina hates them. She's like totally rolling her eyes right now, but I love them. They're like classic Japanese, except they're not, they're Korean, but it's like the same era of like 90s luxury sedan, baller moves, they look like bicycle spokes. They're so cool. I have a walk around video of that car. You should check it out.
All
Christina's rolling her eyes still.
Looking forward
So much support from my wife.
I support you. Looking forward to coming to Spain? Question mark, from Juan Camino Lens.
Yeah, I would love to go to Spain. I've been to Spain a couple times. It's actually one of my favorite European countries.
I've lived there.
Christina lived there. Where did you live again?
Granada.
In Granada. Yeah, love Spain. I would love to come visit. So just save me a spot one.
When COVID's over.
When COVID's over.
Okay. Power, question mark, from Taz5620.
Lots. Yeah, that's lots of power. 485 horsepower. 475 pound-feet of torque. Sorry with the sarcastic first answer.
Can you rev it so maybe? Hey, did everyone hear him rev it?
I'll rev it again. Maybe he just tuned in, this individual. He's asking for the rev. I'll rev it again.
Okay.
There can never be too many revs. Do we like that? Did we hear that? Does everyone else out there in the neighborhood heard it?
Yes, sounds great. Okay. How much power and is it turbocharged from Dasherton?
Dasherton asked how much power and is it turbocharged? 485 horsepower from that 6.4 liter HEMI V8. If you didn't see it, wait for the video to end and watch towards the beginning as I show off the engine. And it is not turbocharged. It is not turbocharged or supercharged. No forced induction of any kind. It is a naturally aspirated 6.4 liter V8. In fact, the most powerful, Dodge says, the most powerful naturally aspirated V8 on the market right now. Maybe just sedan. V8 sedan on the market. V8 muscle car may be on the market. There's a qualifier there. There's some qualifier, but it's the most powerful naturally aspirated V8 in some capacity. 6.4 liters. It's a lot of liters. No replacement for displacement.
How does it compare to the Charger without the Scat Pack from Fabrizium?
Okay, Fabrizium asked, how does it compare to the Charger without the Scat Pack? So there's so many different Charger levels. There's Charger, there's GT, there's GT, there's GT all-wheel drive, there is RT, Scat Pack, and Hellcat. Scat Pack, middle high on that hierarchy, as we can see. 485 horsepower compared to the RT, that's the step down, still has a V8, still naturally aspirated V8, 5.7 liters though, not 6.4, and it makes 370 horsepower. So, you know, there's a big delta in power, 115 horsepower more in this, and then you step up to the Hellcat, and it's 707 to 717 in the Daytona. So there's a big variation in power there, but I think the Scat Pack is really the sweet spot of the whole lineup. It's not that expensive. It starts at 46, I believe. So 46 wide body, 40,000 for the non-wide body. So yes, you can get the narrow body, standard 392 Scat Pack, or this wide body one for 6,000 more. So the narrow body starts at 40, and that's a heck of a deal. I would go for the wide body because I don't care if they look tacked on. I think it looks BA. So I would choose the wide body. And you also get upgraded wheels and tires, and I think the brakes are upgraded as well with that. You get the flat bottom leather steering wheel. You get a bunch of good stuff with the wide body package. So I would go for the wide body. $46,000 for what you're getting performance-wise here is a heck of a deal. I forgot the original question. Was there a question, or was it Miles rants now?
I think you answered it.
Okay, I hope I answered it.
Without the Scat
Charger
Pack.
without Scat Pack. I would just say save your pennies and get the 392 Scat Pack versus sticking with the RT. It's worth it.
Okay. Before I get into the YouTube questions, did you thank Marshall?
I did not thank Marshall. Marshall Freeman, thank you for becoming a Patreon. Is it Freeman? I thought it was Hilfman. I'm so sorry. Marshall Hilfman, thank you so much. I should have thanked you at the beginning of the video. Thank you so much for becoming a Patreon supporter. You really help with the sustaining this channel. Putting out a lot of content requires a lot of man hours, and so just getting the thumbs up from you, it doesn't matter the actual monetary amount, just getting the thumbs up saying we support you, keep doing what you're doing. If you want to support as well, if you have the Patreon account, you can support. So join Marshall, become a Patreon supporter. But thank you, Marshall, I really appreciate it, and I'm sorry I totally messed up your last name. That's my bad.
Okay, let's get into
On to the YouTube questions.
Vincent Rosisi wants one of those. I agree.
Agreed. Christina wants it bad. Oh, did we ask, someone asked about the paint color. Did I put that in the questions?
You did not, and people are commenting nice colors, so maybe you can mention.
Okay, so I should mention, this is indigo blue paint, and it has the optional carbon twin stripes down the center. So this is optional. This is the indigo paint color. It's actually a really beautiful blue. I know you can see from afar, but up close, it's got some metal flakes, so it's a metallic paint color. Really gorgeous color, especially in the sunlight. We got a little bit of sunlight. When I did the walk around in POV, I didn't have any sunlight, so I couldn't show off this paint color, but it looks fantastic, especially with the yellow of the B in there. So, yeah, indigo blue, that's the paint color. 100% would get.
Hello to Aaron. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Aaron.
From Vincent Rosisi, does it do good burnouts?
It does do good burnouts. That is the benefit of a rear drive, 485 horsepower sedan. It does wonderful burnouts. I'm not going to show you because I would like to come back to this parking lot to shoot things in the future, but it does wonderful burnouts. Despite the fact that it has 305 second tires at all four corners, you can spin them, and it's wonderful. It's got line lock as part of this Scat package, so you can lock the front brakes, spin those tires. They're expensive tires, so you wouldn't want to do it too often. And smoke inhalation is not good. That's your public service announcement. But do burnouts.
Okay, from Gaming Master X, does it handle well around corners?
Yes, great question, Gaming Master. It handles very well around corners, partially because of those 305 section tires at all four corners that I mentioned. So come on, let's show them the tires. Wheels and tires. So we've got 20-inch wheels at all four corners, and these 305 section Pirelli P0 tires. Great grip from these, and at all four corners it means you've got such a stable base. Even though it's not an all-wheel drive car, you've got such stability in corners, matched with stiffer anti-roll bars front and rear. So it's 27% stiffer in the front than the non-wide body, and 55% stiffer in the rear than the non-wide body. So really good control of its body, very planted in corners. It handles shockingly well, given that people feel like all new vehicles need to have all this sophisticated stuff. Dodge kind of stuck with, you know, the tried and true things. Wide tires, good brakes, Brembo 6-piston front, 4-piston rear brakes with slotted rotors, 15 point something in front, 13-inch rear. So really good braking power. They just stuck with tried and true performance equipment. They didn't get fancy with the electric adjusting anti-roll bars and, you know, electronic limited slip differentials and all that. It's just tried and true performance, and it does it really well. It's bright. Other questions?
All right, hi to Linda.
Hello.
And Cyber NYC Auto. And then from Vincent, again, how is the power output?
The power output is wonderful, 485 horsepower, and I'm sure it probably means power delivery. How is it being delivered? Lots of low down torque, so you get it instantly. The throttle tip in is so immediate, you can easily spin those tires by accident if you aren't paying attention, or at least chirp them, because the power, the initial input is just so strong. You get all that low down torque, and then as it builds, it swells in a linear delivery as you go on. That's what you get from a naturally aspirated engine. There's not the slow build up, it's just linear, it just goes. So I love the power delivery. Yes.
How is it different from the GT?
Significantly. So you have some of the performance hardware I already mentioned. You've got the wider tires, you've got the bigger brakes. You have, well, as a pure difference, it's not a V6, it's a naturally aspirated V8, the larger of the two options. And I mean, you've got the wide body design, you have the stiffer anti-roll bars. I'm probably missing something here, but it all adds up to a significantly different performance experience. You would not make the mistake. When you're behind the wheel, you could probably make the mistake visually because there are some things, not the wide body kind of stands out, but the narrow body you could potentially mistake for the GT, but from behind the wheel, there's no mistake. It's not even close to the same. Other stylistic things you get on the Scat Pack, you get this black lip spoiler, you get these big circular exhausts, the wheels that I mentioned, the wide body panels, including the wider rocker panels. So they didn't just do the fender flares, it's the rocker panels as well. And then the hood scoop. This is part of the Scat package, and new for 2020. Show them the kind of the entry air's coming in here, cooling that engine. And also this air down here, this mail slot, is new for 2020. It's a sort of design update. This one has HID headlights, an option. As is the sunroof. The sunroof is $1,200. You would get no sunroof otherwise. All right, what are the questions?
Okay, hi from Zoe in
Hello.
Serbia.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And then
Thanks for tuning in.
people are loving the color.
Yes, indigo blue. Gorgeous.
From Vincent, I have last American four-door sports car.
I kind of...
Not you, Kevin.
No, I think he's saying this is the last American four-door sports car. I completely agree with you. It will be very sad when Dodge they merged their DNA with the Alfa Romeo stuff, when they're using the Alfa Romeo platforms. Those are wonderful cars, but I want to separate them from the experience that the Charger is offering here. This is truly, as you said, the last American four-door sports car. Certainly the last American four-door muscle car. It's such a unique experience. I've driven so many cars, and I come back to this and I get giddy every time. This is seriously the car I would save up my money for, maybe one day, purchase. Christina would like that. She likes this car. You can sell your wives on it, folks.
Vincent, how do you manage to get all of these amazing cars?
I am an automotive journalist, so I've been doing this for 10 years. I've created relationships with these automakers, and so they know that when they give me a car on a loan, I'm going to provide content for people to consume. People read articles, people watch videos, and that's how they decide what car they're going to buy next. So the automakers giving me the car means that they're getting exposure. So that's what they get in exchange. I'm not on their payroll. No automaker pays me any money to test these cars. This is purely me driving the cars and giving my honest feedback about them. So that's how I get the cars, and that's why people watch, because they get an honest person's feedback from it, and I've been doing it for a while, and I kind of think I know what I'm talking about in most regards. Sometimes I don't. But that's how I get the cars. And if you want to learn more about how to become an automaker, or an automotive journalist, I actually have that little perk on Patreon. Just saying.
Okay, Zach Lee likes the sound of it.
Yeah, I do too. More rents.
And Zachary Lee is asking, how good is the interior quality?
Oh, okay, great question. We're getting to the interior. I'm just gonna rev it like just one more. Oh, excuse me. It just slipped out. Interior. So you are reminded that this is an economy car. It is a, in its base form, high 20s, low 30,000 sedan. And you're reminded of that with certain panels, certain like hard plastics and things like that. But this one has certain updates that help it feel a little more premium. You've got this contrast stitch dashboard up here with soft touch materials. You've got the 8.4-inch Uconnect system, which despite the fact that the Uconnect system is so old now, the software updates that they keep doing make it such that it's still very responsive, user-friendly. I really like this system, and honestly, the only things that I wish it had were things like wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, but it was one of the first to introduce CarPlay and Auto. So there really isn't much that I can truly complain about in terms of the infotainment. It's got the muscle car style dials, which I like that they're analog in that way. I like that they didn't go full digital with those. So that's all good stuff. This is a leather wrapped steering wheel, the flat bottom on this Scat Pack model that we have here. And it's a really solid feeling wheel. Hate that these are half paddles. Look at the size of these paddles. You can't grab the whole paddle. One, they're small anyway, but you can't even grab the whole paddle. These buttons here control part of the infotainment. So you got these little bitty, I can fit 2 of my fingers on here, shift the paddle. I want a big paddle. It's a high performance sedan. I want a big paddle. That's a complaint. But yes, you can kind of see that there's some cheapness of materials, like this plastic in here is really hard and cheap. But for the most part, you can kind of ignore that stuff. I wish they had a panoramic sunroof, or at least I wish the sunroof wasn't $1,200 extra. There is some cheap material quality, but you can ignore it because the stuff you're interacting with on a daily basis, the steering wheel, the armrests, the inserts for the door, the infotainment, that's all reasonably good quality stuff. And then you just put your foot down and you forget about everything else. These seats are very comfortable. They've got leather borders and Alcantara inserts. You've got this B, you can see it on my seat. You've got this the B insignia imprinted into the seat. The rear seats have plenty of space. They are also comfortable. Basically, they're couch cushions, and they're great. So that's all good. You got a good sized trunk. The interior is totally passable for the $46,000 that this starts at. This one, as tested, is $56,000, but I swear right now, out the door, you could probably get this at a dealership for $50,000. Taxes and everything included, because Dodge is making deals. So for $50,000, what I think you could actually buy this for, it's not bad. It's really not bad.
Okay.
Any further questions?
Okay. What are the interior features? We kind of just went over them.
Kind of went over them, yeah, so we should be good there. If you have further questions, ask in the comments and I will answer those specifically.
Any difference in power with the Challenger Widebody from Slack?
No, the Widebody Scat Pack makes the same power as the Challenger Widebody Scat Pack makes the same power as the Charger Widebody Scat Pack. Very same.
From Scola, can you do a burnout for us, please?
Sorry, I cannot do that right here. Not in this area. I want to be able to come back to this parking lot, do a lot of filming here, and if I get anyone calling the police on me, then I will not be able to come back here. So no burnouts today, but I promise it's possible. I promise I've done some. Not here.
Okay, and I'm not really sure what this is. Maybe you do, but Student Raiders just said Koenigsegg Agera RS.
Koenigsegg Agera RS. That's cool. That's a cool car. I approve of that. Doesn't have anything to do with this, but I agree that is an awesome car.
Cool. Scola, how long do you stay with the cars you review?
Good question. Very good question. So the vast majority of the cars I review I have for a single week. So 7 days, Monday to Monday, for example, or Friday to Friday. Some cars there are some restraints on some cars. When I have things like the Lamborghini Huracan Evo that I just had, I had that for only 4 days. They don't want you to put too many miles on the car, so they'll give you a mileage cap. In most cases, the mileage cap is very reasonable. It's like 500 miles. I'm not going to go take that on a massive road trip unless I negotiate that specifically with Lamborghini. If I say, Lamborghini, I've got a story I want to tell, I want to take this thing on a road trip, then I can do that. But for the most part, they're going to give me a mileage cap and a limited number of days. That's in those ultra, supercar vehicles, the really expensive models, do I get a cap. But for the most part, I get a week with the car and no mileage cap. So I've got plenty of time and mileage to test all the features and things that I would want to know about and would want you guys to know about.
Okay.
Good question.
Will there be a review of the Maserati Levante Trofeo?
I will try to get the Levante Trofeo. That would be cool, especially given the context of all these super SUVs I've been driving lately. That would be a good one. Good question. I will ask them if I can get one on loan. Got a lot of cars scheduled between now and the beginning of July, so sneaking that one in. P.S. Look for the Rolls-Royce Cullinan this coming week, so that'll be good.
When is the POV video of this car coming out? Excited from Scola.
Awesome. The POV drive for this, I believe, is scheduled for Saturday. So a week from today is the POV drive, and the review will be a week from this coming Monday, because I've got the Cayenne Coupe review this coming Monday, and the POV drive for that should be today or tomorrow. So we're about a week lead time right now on the videos.
Also, how good are the speakers from Scola?
Oh, good speakers. Alpine sound system. Let's just listen to. So yeah, good speakers, good sound system. A little bass heavy. I'm sure I could change that in the settings, but good sound system. It's not good. It's not a Harman Kardon, or it's not a Bowers and Wilkins or Bang & Olufsen sound system, but it's a good sound system.
Okay.
I'm also not an audiophile, so.
From Zoni, will there be a review of the Range Rover Sport?
So here's the thing about Land Rover and Jaguar. They've put a hold on all of their vehicle loans, so I can't get a loan for any Jaguar or Land Rover vehicle at this very moment. When the stuff with COVID-19 starts to settle down, they will reopen their loans, so I will definitely get those models. So yes, it's going to take a little while. I don't know when exactly, can't promise you anything. But when they're available, I will get that car and I will do a review.
Okay. Let's drive it a little. There are only a few questions left.
Okay, we'll do a little bit of driving. You can hear the exhaust at throttle inputs.
Zachary Lee's asking the 0 to 60, which you did mention earlier, but...
Did I? I don't know if I mentioned the 0 to 60.
Maybe you didn't. You just said horsepower.
Yeah, I mentioned horsepower. 0 to 60 is 4.3 seconds as quoted by Dodge. I'm sure it's actually faster when you get a good launch, but 4.3 seconds is quick. Definitely quick.
Okay, from Vincent, what are the performance Uconnect features?
Uconnect features, so it's got a Wi-Fi hotspot. Oh, performance. Oh, sorry. So the performance pages are here. Let's go to drive modes, and then performance pages. This takes a little while to load. Just wait a second. I mean, it's actually going to take. Oh, look, that's the version of the software that we've got. It'll tell you straight up. Okay, so after a brief pause, we've got performance pages up. You can see your oil temperature, battery voltage, intake air temperature. We've got some timers on here, so I can see my reaction times. This is for drag racing. I've got some reaction times, acceleration, braking. I can do 0 to 60 sprints and quarter-mile sprints. These are all, like, I'm not actually using these, so these aren't going to be real times, but you can test those or check those in there. More gauges. G-force meter, that's always fun. Engine, so this is the, if I was, let's see. So we can see the pound-feet of torque go up, the horsepower go up. This is not a forced induction motor. The dynos, we saw that little blip when I accelerated just a touch, but that's an active dyno. So that's all on the performance pages. Go back to the SRT dashboard. We can activate line lock. So that's a system where if you want to do burnouts, it'll lock the front brakes and just spin those rear tires. You also have a launch mode, so it will set what RPM, and you can set this yourself. So I can go up to, let's do 2,800 RPM. Now let's do higher. 3,000 RPM. So it'll sit at, no, 2,800 RPM. It'll sit at 2,800 RPM while your foot is, you've tapped the brake, then you've given quick throttle, and it will release the brake, and it will launch at 2,800 RPM for an optimal launch, get you as much traction as possible with those tires and get you moving. Not going to do that right now, but that is an option. Race options, that's line lock, launch control. You can see your shift lights, and then your drive modes are in here as well. And so we've got track, sport, custom, and auto. Custom is one where you can individually go set up your transmission, your paddle shifters, whether you want them on or off, traction control, suspension, and steering feel. and weight. Those are all things you can individually toggle on and off and then save those in your custom mode. So the moment you hit custom, it'll have all those set up. Auto mode, it's just going to do what it thinks you want in that given time. Sport mode just makes things a little more fun on the street. That's what I kind of leave it in most of the time. Track, kind of unnecessary for the street, but it's going to just maximize performance for a racetrack setting. So I'm going to leave it in sport. Those are all the things you can get at in the drive modes. I'm going to let this lady pass.
Okay, again, Marcos is asking, is there a POV drive of this car? Yes.
Yeah, well, it's not up right now, but it will be up in the next couple days. Yes.
Okay, from Scola, I'm thinking about getting one, but do you think the wide body is overpriced, or should I just get the regular version of the Scat pack?
It's $6,000. So it's $6,000, but $6,000 before you start negotiating. So I think I'm always one for negotiation at a dealership. So whatever price you're looking at, it's not the price you're necessarily going to pay. If you can negotiate the wide body price into something reasonable for you, I think it's absolutely worth it. The look, the traction that you get from the 305 section tires at all four corners, the small upgrades that you get in terms of the flat bottom steering wheel, and I believe the braking hardware is from the wide body. Maybe it's just standard. I think it's actually standard. Sorry. Standard for the 392 Scat Pack is the braking hardware, 6-piston front, 4-piston rear. But I do think the wide body brings enough, and the stiffer anti-roll bars, front and rear, are in the wide body. So I think there's enough to justify the price. But $6,000 is a lot to just look at. So if you can negotiate it at a dealership, then I think it's well worth the price. I'm going to shift down a couple, let you hear it. So just a really nice noise. But as you can tell, I'm not yelling for you to hear me. Cabin noise is not that bad. But just so much power. Oh, and how good is that motor sound? I'm happy. I'm in my happy place right now. Love this sedan. I really, really do. Seriously, there are a few cars that I would say I would go spend my money on it. This is one of them. I'm not going to do too much driving here, and I'm also not going to go too far into this because that's what the review's for. You got to listen for the review. I will fully break down the exterior, interior, and driving in that review. So look forward to that. That's not going to be this coming Monday, the following Monday.
All right, so that's so cool. Technology has come so far.
Yep.
Wish my Jaguar S-Type had that. I was guessing all those functions.
Yeah, the performance. This is cool stuff. Sorry, someone asked earlier about cool features. That would definitely fall under the cool features category.
And then Scola says, awesome. Thanks for your time, man. Looking forward for the
Thank you guys.
to the POV video.
Awesome. Well, probably having a difficulty with the connection. LT maybe sucky. Okay, we're back. The question was asked if I'm going to review a Mustang anytime soon. Ford, like Jaguar and Land Rover, has put a bit of a hold on their vehicle loans. So the moment they open things back up, I will get a Mustang. I really want to get the GT500. Really want to get that. So the moment I can, I will get that and do a review. So count on that. Just can't say when exactly that will happen. All right. Thanks so much, guys. Thank you for being flexible with the timing. I had to go pick up some rock sliders for my Land Cruiser, which, by the way, I will show off at 50,000 subscribers. So we're only 5,000 subscribers away from me showing you what my daily driver is. Daily driver, quote unquote. I hardly ever drive it, but it is my car. So I'll show you what that is when we hit 50,000 subscribers. It's our car, Christina clarifies. She owns it too. So yes, I will show you that when we hit 50,000. So let's get there, friends. Watching.